All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Sports Inquirer Show. We're recording on April 27th, 2021. Hope all is well in the world for you. On today's broadcast, we will preview tonight's upcoming matchup between the Atlanta United and Philadelphia Union in the CONCACAF Champions League. We'll delve into baseball in our Beanball portion of the show. And we'll transition into technical state of Georgia athletics and wrap up our coverage of the Georgia Tech football spring game. Backdoor Cut, we'll touch on some notes in the WNBA as the Atlanta Dream are opening up training camp. And then we'll end our show with our exclusive interview with Georgia State men's golf player Josh Edgar as the Panthers wrap up the Sun Belt tournament today. As always, if you want to follow everything that we're doing, head to the mothership, to sportsinquirer.net. You'll be able to go to our site and see everything that we're doing. Archives of previous Sports Inquirer shows, Verbal Submission Podcast, which is our show dedicated exclusively to mixed martial arts and professional wrestling. That'll be up within the next day or two. Be on the lookout for that. Also, our interviews with various sports entities throughout the world. So make sure you head to thesportsinquirer.net to check that out. You can also go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Search Sports Inquirer, that's all one word, and you'll be able to find us and see everything that we're doing. Finally, subscribe to our audio and video content providers such as YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. Search the Sports Inquirer. You'll be able to find us, subscribe to us, like us, and a really good part about subscriptions is that whenever we put up new content, you automatically get a notice or a notification that it has been posted. That is a great way to track everything that we're doing. I do it myself for various entities, and is a really good way to keep up with everything we put out. So I highly recommend that you do that. Let's start with the free kick portion of our show and go over professional soccer, particularly Atlanta United. The Five Stripes are in the quarterfinals of the CONCACAF Champions League, and they are hosting the Philadelphia Union tonight on April 27th. Let's go over the offense of Atlanta United. After scoring only 2 goals in their first 3 matches of the season, remember they scored two goals in their 2 matches against Alajuelense in the round of 16 of the CONCACAF Champions League 2 weeks ago. They actually did not score a goal in their MLS opener about a week ago against Orlando City. It was a 0-0 draw in Florida. Atlanta turned that around this past weekend on April 24th, scoring 3 goals in their 3-1 victory over the Chicago Fire in MLS play. Here is Ezequiel Barco on the offense in its evolution.
Sí, bueno, nosotros tratamos de siempre de hacer lo que venimos entrenando durante la semana. Creo que se ha demostrado que lo que venimos entrenando está saliendo y en los partidos, eso es muy importante para nosotros. Como te dije, muy contento por esta victoria y nada, muy feliz.
Yeah, we've been working on things in training, so we're doing that with the intent of trying to implement it into the games. And in games like this, I think it just demonstrates everything that we've been working on. But as I said, just really happy to be able to get the victory today.
He obviously had a big goal, scored the first goal of the contest for Atlanta, a wonder goal, maybe the goal of the young MLS season. So he has been a big part of this offensive improvement. Jake Mulraney, he has been playing more forward and getting into the 6-yard box of the opponent into the penalty area. And he had a nice move that set up the third goal of the match by Emerson Hyman for Atlanta United in that Chicago victory. But here is Mulraney on the offense and its improvements.
To be honest, Doug, I think conditions play a big part. The Orlando game was obviously our first game of the season. Really, really hot, really humid. Not everyone's 100% fit. But I think that really benefited us coming into tonight. I felt we were a bit sharp on front of the goal tonight. Obviously, some really good goals. SA's goals, unbelievable. But yeah, I feel like we're a little bit sharper tonight, Doug.
And of course, all of this is predicated on the new system of first-year manager Gabriel Heinze. And here is Mulraney on Heinze's system and how it has been implemented into the Atlanta United approach to soccer?
Yeah, he emphasises that a lot. He wants a lot of people in the box going forward. I've always said it, the players that we have, I mean, if we get into them positions, I'm sure we can score goals. But tactically, he's unbelievable. It's like he's too smart for me. It's like it took me so long to adapt to how tactically good he is. But then again, like on the other side of it, it's like man to man, and he's so passionate about like going with your man, be with your man, don't lose your man, tracking runners and stuff. So I feel like the boys really are committed also to that.
Yeah, so the big thing has been it's a fluid system. Guys are playing in and out. We've seen Mulraney play forward, even George Bello. He's been in the penalty area, being able to move the ball forward. A lot of backtracking, just a lot of fluidity. We see outside of really, I'm trying to think of any one particular player that has been stationary in their spot. Obviously, besides Brad Guzan, the goalkeeper. But besides that, we've seen guys push forward. We've seen guys backtrack. But guys who've really taken advantage of the situation. We've seen Mulraney, that's Ezequiel Barco. Brooks Lennon has even been forward, even though he plays maybe a more traditional midfield holder slash defending position. He's been able to implement himself into the offense. We've just seen a lot of guys, even the Sosa. I see Antonio Sosa. He made some really good passes in the contest against Chicago. Just the ability to pass out of the back line, make some crosses, or some diagonal passes, I should say, to get the offense going. So that's been a really big part of the Atlanta system. Now at Philadelphia, the Union, as they come into tonight's contest, coming off of a 2-1 home loss to Inter Miami on April 24th in MLS play. And both teams are having quick turnarounds. Atlanta played on the 24th, same as the Philadelphia Union. So both these teams played last Saturday night, and the 27th is a Tuesday. So a very quick turnaround for both squads. Here's Gabriel Heinze, manager of Atlanta United, on his usage of data for potential player selection.
No, mire, los datos físicos sí lo analizamos.
Yeah, the physical data, of course we analyze it.
Pero no es una cosa que a mí me hace que puede jugar o no puede jugar.
But this information, it will not decide if a player is going to play or not.
La decisión de que juegue o no un jugador,
the decision to see if a player is going to play or not,
no es por los datos.
It's not because of the data.
Sino es por lo que siento.
It's because of what I feel.
Y por lo que veo.
And for what I see.
El día que pierda esto y le dé más importancia a los datos, creo que me tengo que ir de esta profesión.
The day that I pay more attention to the data of what I feel is when I think I need to quit my job.
And as he said, I think it's a feel as far as how things go. We already know that Brooks Lennon will not be available. He suffered a concussion in that contest against Chicago, so he will not be suiting up for Atlanta tonight. It's the first leg. It's the home leg. I would not be surprised if we see. It'd be very interesting. Obviously, we always look at is Joseph Martinez going to start? Is going to start a contest. He has not started an MLS contest yet this year. He did start the second leg against Alajuelense when that contest was in Kennesaw a few weeks ago. But he may get a start, and but it's just we have to see what the setup is. But as far as Philadelphia itself, one of the stronger teams in Major League Soccer. We saw them make a good postseason run last year. Here is Heinze on defending Philadelphia for this upcoming matchup.
No solamente el posicionamiento de los dos delanteros, sino que juegan posicionamiento muy internos en forma de figuras y es complejo porque ponen mucha gente en el medio.
I would not only focus in the two strikers, I would also see how they play in the middle with different geometric figures, and they like to play with a lot of players in the mid channels.
De lo cual ellos lo que hacen es tener mucha posesión del balón y cuando ya están en posibilidad juegan muy rápido esos dos delanteros que que tienen características muy buenas.
By doing this, they have a lot of possession, and as soon as they have the ball, they look for these two strikers that they have very good characteristics.
Sí, que es verdad que se ve que es un equipo que ya está muy bien trabajado, que sabe a lo que juega.
But you can see that it's a team that is well worked, well trained, and they know what to do.
And on our next show, we will recap the entire contest against the Philadelphia Union and Atlanta United, and also give our thoughts on the rest of the table in CONCACAF Champions League. All right, let's transition to baseball. We haven't done a beanball section on the show in a minute, and I wanted to touch on some baseball thoughts as we move through the early portions of the season. I'll start with the Atlanta Braves because they are kind of the epitome of how an early part of the season can go for a team. 2 days ago on Sunday, they played a doubleheader against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They only had one hit combined in those two contests, including a no-hitter by Madison Bumgarner. I'm doing a recording. You can't see the video of it, but I put the no-hitter in quotations. The Braves did not. Remember, we have these new doubleheader rules where you play 2 7-inning games. Bumgarner, in the second contest, did not allow a hit against the Braves through those 7 innings. It does not count as a no-hitter because a no-hitter is a pitcher that pitches at least 9 innings of no-hit baseball in a victory. So that's why he does not get credit for the no-hitter. But it is the first no-hitter under these current rules, so that was pretty unique. And then you turn around last night and they score how many? Let's say they score a bunch of runs against the Cubs. Yeah, they won that contest 8-7 last night. So you go from 2 games where they only had one hit combined, and then the next day against the Cubs they score 8 runs in a victory. But I'll start with the National League standings, and then we'll transition over to the American League. Yeah, the Mets at 9-8 have the best record. Well, they're only team above 500 in the standings. All the other teams in the East are 500 or worse in win percentage. I think it's a balanced division. I think Philadelphia being 11-11 has been an improvement. We remember last year they had one of the worst bullpens in the modern era. They've made some strides and improved in that regard. But the difference between first and third in this division is only 3 games. So I still think the Braves are the class of the division. The starting pitching's been up and down. Obviously, Max Fried being injured, that does not help. Not having Mike Soroka has not been him not being available has hurt. I think he'll be back probably within the next month or so. For the Braves, Charlie Morton inconsistent, gave up a lot of runs yesterday, but was able to he was bailed out by the Braves hitters and was able, I think, to get the victory in that contest. The Braves starting pitching has been so, and I think that's what's been surprising. Obviously, Ronald Acuna may be the MVP of the National League so far this early portion of the year. He's been tremendous. But I think the Braves are still the class of the division. The Mets are intriguing because their pitching is very, very good. When you can throw a Stroman and obviously Jacob deGrom, who is the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. You see how many strikeouts and how many lack of runs he has given up throughout this season, yet he's gotten minimal run support. In his last game, he struck out more than 10 batters, had to drive in the 2 runs that were a big factor in the victory. If they can get some offensive support for Grom's contest, and I said you have Stroman and you have some other starters, the Mets are intriguing, but just offensively, they're so inconsistent, and you just can't trust that over the long haul. And that's why the Braves, especially when they're all going, their top 3 or 4 with obviously Acuna, Albies, Freeman, and Ozuna, they can be a very special top 4. And then even you look at the depth of the lineup with Darnold and Swanson, even Austin Riley, they have a lineup that can probably rival any lineup in the National League outside of another team in the West that we'll get to in a moment. But I still think the Braves are the class of that division, but we keep keeping track of that. Well, let's get to the West. I mean, the Dodgers are 15-8, no surprise. Their starting rotation, when you have Bauer, Bueller, and Clayton Kershaw, who at this stage is the third starter on that roster, the future Hall of Famer. That's a very, very deep rotation. But their problem is, and in the lineup, offensively, they produce so many runs, obviously led by Mookie Betts. We saw it again yesterday. Kelly Jansen, blown save, giving up a home run late. Their bullpen is the Achilles heel of that team. Now, the good part about your bullpen being weak is that you can always trade for arms later on in the season. When certain squads are out of the pennant chase or out of winning the division or being a wild card contender and they have some solid arms in their bullpen that aren't being used too much, a lot you can trade to the Dodgers and they can pick some of that up. But it's been very surprising, well, not surprising start, but at 15-8, they've been the class of the National League. But respect to the San Francisco, let's say the 49ers, I'm in football mode. San Francisco Giants, they're also 15-8 on the season. Very surprising what Kapler has been able to do, the manager of the team, for the Giants. But I think that's I don't want to say it's fool's gold because 15 wins through this early portion of the year is very good. But I still think the Dodgers are the class of the NL West. The Padres are 13-11. I think the Padres, and I enjoy the rivalry. Fernando Tatis, the 4 home runs over 2 days this previous weekend, 2 against Bauer, 2 against Kershaw. First man in history to have multiple home run games against Cy Young winners in consecutive contests. With Bauer, obviously, and with Kershaw. I like the rivalry. I don't know why people are so negative on the Padres and trying to, you know, will them down to say they're not good enough. Are the Dodgers a better team? Yes, they are. We all know that. Look on paper and you look at what you've seen in the results of their games so far. But it's still, this is good. You can only have so many Yankee Red Sox contests, and you need some unpredictability because if you go by and I know the Yankees are struggling. We'll get to the AL in a moment, but if you have the predictability of Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, maybe Astros over the past few years as the good teams or the squads that are going to be in contention every year, that's not a good thing. You want to see multiple competitors. Now, in the end, if it's Dodgers and Yankees in the World Series or Red Sox when they're, if because they have the biggest budgets and they have been very good over the past few years, that's how it ends up being in the World Series or the Championship Series in respective leagues. That's okay. But to just shut it down before you can have any of the rivalry. I guess people get insulted with the term rivalry because rivalry tends to be one team winning more, both teams winning throughout a series of contests. And we've seen the Dodgers be the superior team more consistently over the past few years. But I think it's a good thing that the Padres are making their presence felt. And I'm glad that, and with Trevor Bauer, after I gave up the home run and Tatis put his hand over his eye because Bauer pitched with one eye in the spring training contest, and Bauer had no problem with it. I think it's a good thing. I think that there should be fun and excitement in the major leagues. And you have your old school people that don't like showboating, don't like the attitude, don't like the expression of emotions. And I'm 40 years old, or 30. I turned 40 in a month. I may as well be 40. I understand that perspective. I came up watching baseball in the 80s and the 90s when it was not as traditional as the 50s and the 60s, but still that old school mentality. Baseball, you focus on the task at hand. You don't show anybody up. You run with your head down when you hit a home run. So I understand that perspective. And there are some times where there's a little bit, guys get a little animated and like, I don't know about that. Or even when I see certain guys, I'll highlight the Braves because we're in Atlanta and we're based here. I'll see Ozuna and Acuna with the neon, I guess, elbow pads, whether it's yellow or green. Cespedes did it with the Mets a few years ago when he was on the team. And I'll be looking at that, and that's not the uniform color. I think that's a little flashy and showboaty. I see the guys with the chains. It's like, I don't like that. But it's a new era, and the guys are expressing themselves in that way. And if the team doesn't have a problem with it, I'm sure if Brian Snitker, the manager of the Braves, had a problem with the wardrobe of Acuna or Zuna and Snickers, as old school as it gets, he's been with professional baseball before I was even born. If he doesn't have a problem with it, then I should have a problem with it. If he's okay with it, I can roll with it too. But I think that seeing the expression of the players is a good thing and should be applauded and encouraged as you progress as a sport. Look at the NL Central, similar league or similar division. Milwaukee has a 13-9 record right now. Their starting pitching has been spectacular so far. But even Cincinnati at 10-12, 3 games separates first and last in this division. In the preseason, who did I pick? I think I actually picked St. Louis to win this division. But if the Cubs win it, it would not be shocking. Pittsburgh's a little bit surprised at 11-11. But Milwaukee, you got to think they're starting pitching, and then you look at their lineup led by Christian Yelich. When he works his way back, he's out right now, but when he works his way back into the lineup, you got to figure Milwaukee may be the best team in the division. But, I mean, that's a very, very tight situation there. And obviously, we transition to the American League. The biggest story are the New York Yankees. Right now, they're 9-13. Worst? No, they're not the worst record in the league, but they're in last place in the AL East. Biggest issue with them, or two issues. One, outside of Garrett Cole, their starting rotation has been lackluster, to say the least, and that's a big problem. I mean, Cole is the big pitcher that they've signed last off season, and he's been contributing very well. But outside of that, they're not getting much there. And then their offense, and you got to figure with that lineup of Stanton and Judge and LeMahieu, Sanchez, those guys would be much better than they are right now. But they're not hitting and they're not pitching well. So that is an issue you have to look at with the Yankees. Will it ultimately even out, and will they win the division? You have to assume that they will. But you look at Boston, 14-9 right now. They've been a surprise as far as, people were predicting them to finish as low as fourth in the AL East. But right now they're in first place, getting big contributions from JD Martinez. Their pitching has been solid. We'll see what happens there. Tampa, similar deal. Their pitching is outstanding. Offensively, you worry about them. But when you can throw and pitch like they and defend like they do, they're going to be in a bunch of contests. Toronto and Baltimore floundering around 500. I still think the Yankees, you have to feel eventually their bats are so strong. And the pitching of Toronto and Baltimore is not going to, even Boston, is not going to be able to last through an entire long season. And the Yankees can bludgeon their way to 90 to 95 wins and win that division. But it's very tricky right now where they are. And they're not going to fire Aaron Boone. They're not going to go that route. They're the manager of the team. They're not going to make any major trades. I think they're just going to play it out and see what develops over the next few weeks. But to see the Yankees at 9-13 in last place in the AL East is a surprise. I look at the West, and Oakland's first place, 15-8. Seattle, 13-10. Those are surprises. I picked Houston to win the division in preseason, but I also think I had Oakland in the wild card race. They find a way to win contests. I think they've won 13 of their last 14 contests. They're 9-1 in their last 10 games, and they have a lot of guys you're not familiar with. And they just continue to find a way to win. I think the Angels are really a very intriguing team in this division. I love the Shohei Ohtani show. And these old school baseball guys, I think Bob Nightingale is one of them. I'm going to call him out. I don't like calling people out. But, or not, and like Keith Olbermann. Maybe not, yeah, but definitely Olbermann. Nightingale, Bob, if you're listening, I apologize if you haven't been slandering Ohtani. But Keith Olbermann's been a slanderer of him. Why are we mad with a guy trying to pitch and hit at the same time at this level? He leads the American League in home runs, and he's been a very solid pitcher so far this year. Is this going to continue for the next 5 to 10 years of his career, where he may have to choose one over the other? He probably will have to make that decision at some point. I mean, he's already gone through Tommy John surgery, so already know that the arm is a fragile situation. But let's enjoy it while we see it. We saw it last night. He pitched against for the Angels, got a victory, had several hits in the contest. As I say, leads the league in home runs right now as we're recording this show. This is a beautiful thing. This is a good thing to celebrate and to be happy about, even if you're a non-Angels fan. I don't care if the Angels win 100 games or lose 100 games. It really doesn't affect me as a fan of as far as teams I support on a fanatical level. But I like seeing stories. I like seeing guys do things that are extraordinary. And what Ohtani is doing is a very, very good thing. He may be an all-star. He's already an all-star hitter this season. He may be an all-star pitcher, and that is some special stuff. When you're in the same class as Babe Ruth, who was the last pitcher to lead the league in home runs. I mean, how much bigger can you get than that? So I love seeing his story and seeing Mike Trout. He had 4 hits last night. I mean, obviously, when you have those two guys in your lineup and Ohtani, and if he can continue going, I think they can be in wild card contention. But you got to figure Oakland, they're not going to keep this pace up, But as far as winning, 9 of the last 10 games, they're going to go through a slump or two. But they may be the class of that division and win it once again. And then finally, the Centrals: Kansas City 14-7, White Sox are 12-9. I guess you figured Kansas City, very surprising. They've been under the radar as far as you could have picked them arguably to finish last in that division coming into it. There's a lot of White Sox love. We've seen the Twins win this division the past few years, but Kansas City at 14-7, very impressive form so far for the Royals. So those are my Major League Baseball thoughts. We'll try to do a lot more baseball talk as we go throughout the season, but I wanted to get a quick segment in and show some respect to our national pastime. I still call it that. I know football and basketball may have usurped Major League Baseball as far as popularity. If you go by TV ratings and money generated, well, I mean, baseball's right there, though. They're not sisters of the poor. But I wanted to give some love to baseball as we progress through our show. All right, let's move on to technical state of Georgia athletics and wrap up our coverage of the Georgia Tech spring game in our previous show. If you want to hear what my my thoughts on the Yellow Jackets offense, go ahead and listen to that. I broke down some Jeff Sims content and Geoff Collins, the head coach of the team, about things going on. But let's go to Georgia Tech's defense and big highlights from the contest: 2 turnovers, fumble recovery by senior defensive lineman Antonius Clayton, interception by senior Tyreek Carpenter. So those were big moments for a Georgia Tech defense that we focused on the offense so much with Georgia Tech and transitioning from the triple option to more of I don't want to say a standard offense, but multiple set offense. And that's been the big focus of things going on the flats. But defensively, you have to look at improvements as well. And that's what they're trying to do. So let's hear from Geoff Collins on the defense and the improvements and growth that they've had through this offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've made a big deal, and it's been no secret. The secondary and the defensive front, making sure they're playing as one unit. The DBs not just being a collection of corners and safeties, but one entire secondary. And then the front four, not just a collection of defensive ends and then a collection of defensive tackles, but an entire front four. And I think guys like Ace, Jaquez Jackson, Charlie Thomas have done a tremendous job getting all of those 2 layers of our defense and playing as one unit. Coach Thacker and the defensive staff have done a great job with that as well, just playing as one unit, and just excited to see them continue that development as well. But I think Ace, Jaquez Jackson, Charlie Thomas have been huge in that role, and the mindset and the demeanor and the attitude and the focus that they've brought to us this entire offseason. Excited to see them continue that through the summer and through the fall.
Yeah, and that's the defense is looking to improve and build. And one big contributor to that is defensive back Juanyeh Thomas. And here are his thoughts on the team looking to improve on the defensive end from last year.
Honestly, last year, we just look at last year and we didn't perform like we wanted to. Yes. And yes, we know we performed terrible as a whole group. So we just try to get better at things we watch on film that'll help us win games this year. And then we implemented that this spring. And moving forward, we're going to be a better group. Promise you that.
And we've seen a large amount of, not say large amount, but several transfers make their impact already for the Georgia Tech program. And one of those guys has been linebacker Ayinde Eley, or we call him Ace, his initials. Here is the new linebacker, a transfer from Maryland on the linebacker group.
The linebacker room that we're in now, this is a close. That's a close room. Like we're like this. You can catch us sitting in the meeting room 20, 15 minutes before meetings, just joking, laughing, talking it up. We're real close. This actually might be the closest I ever been to a position room in my career. We just all gel, and that happens immediately.
And as I mentioned, Eley is a transfer from the Maryland program. And here he is speaking with the media on joining the team and being a part of the Yellow Jackets program.
I feel like the best teams are the closest team, and I just try to make it my job, to know my teammates, to have a good relationship with as many teammates as I can. I try to talk to everybody. I try to say hello or greet everybody that I see in the building, and I just feel like the best teams are the closest teams. So I just try to get close as possible with my teammates and try to get everybody close, because come the fall and when we're going to battle against those 12, 13 other opponents, we got to be a tight-knit group, and we got to be the closest team. And that starts with off-the-field relationships.
Yeah, so overall, as I mentioned on a previous show about the spring games and spring seasons, biggest thing is no major injuries. Everyone came out of it, as far as we know of right now. No major injuries. Guys are able to perform and compete in front of a crowd, at least as far as spring game, but just the spring season, just continue to grow and improve. And now they're going to be off. Well, I say off, but they're going to not meet again as far as a team in an organized format until the fall training sessions or fall camp. And we'll be keeping track of things that are developing throughout the season or the off season for Georgia Tech as well. Now let's move on to the backdoor cut portion of our show and break down some WNBA and the Atlanta Dream. Atlanta opened up training camp 2 days ago, and we were able to catch up with Nicki Collen, the third-year head coach for the Atlanta Dream. And here she is on the start of training camp and how the team is faring so far.
A lot of it was toughness. I mean, we're trying to let them learn to play together. It reminds me a lot of our first season here, where a lot of new faces, trying to fit all the pieces together. A big part of it is we certainly are going to stop and teach, but we have to let them play through, and probably unlike any other year in the league, we've got a lot of players that haven't been overseas and aren't coming directly from overseas. And so they have to play their way into shape. Some of them have been home for a couple months. Some of them never went over there. And so, I think it's fighting through fatigue, screening and executing when they're tired. And so I thought our energy was still good. I think that's important. That's the most important thing to me, that we've got positive energy in the gym. And I thought they really competed at a high level. It wasn't always pretty, but I thought they really competed at a high level. So that's probably what I'm most proud of, and I think the toughest part is always, day 3. We tend to go in training camp 3 days on, 1 day off. So it's always that third day when fatigue sets in, like much earlier in the practice, and so really challenging them to focus. We're not putting in 100 plays. And so because of that, it's about, executing them. And obviously our defense, when they're playing against each other, knows what they're running. So it's even more important that their cuts are sharp, that they're working to get open, that their angles are good on their screen. So for us, it's a little bit more of that than some teams in this league that have maybe played together more. And it's about adding sets and really having a huge playbook at this point. For us, it's about having a small playbook and executing it well and really learning to play with pace without turning the basketball over.
And a big notice, if you look at the roster and the not I'll say the overhaul, but I think there are at least 5 or 6 new players on the roster or through trades and draft picks from last year, is the depth of the backcourt. You have Odyssey Sims, Courtney Williams, new acquisition, Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, and 2021 WNBA draft first round pick, Ari McDonald. All those players are part of a backcourt that will be a major contributor to the Dream. Here is Colin on the backcourt depth.
I think we are deep. I think we have a backcourt that is pretty interchangeable. We can run a lot of handoff actions and zipper cuts and actions that get those guards on the move. And so whether it's Odyssey and Eyre, or it's Odyssey and Kennedy or Mix Courtney, and with that backcourt gives us a lot of options. And I think you just don't know. I mean, it's a good year to be deep and have balance, because not only do you always have injury issues and recovery issues in this league, but now you have COVID issues that are very real. And it could be as simple as a false positive, so whether players are vaccinated or not vaccinated, or what situations arise, there's very possibly, false positives out there that'll cost somebody 48 hours, even to get back in the swing of things. So I think that's the important part about having depth. I think we can really pressure the basketball that way. Yes, there are times we're going to be small, but I think we're small and tough. And I think if we were small and not tough, it might be an issue. But we'll play 2 small guards a lot of the time. So just excited to see them all compete together. They got really after it today. Aries pressure, Odyssey's pressure on the ball. They really challenged each other today.
And as I mentioned, one of the new players on the team for the Dream is Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. The guard was an acquisition in the offseason. Here she is on joining the team.
The adjustment's been really smooth. I'm super blessed and honored to be alongside some of the best guards in the league and play for one of the best coaches. Coach Nicki, I think, is a player's coach, and players dream to play for her. She plays to player strengths, and you can tell the way players play that they're out there, they play free, and they play hard for her.
And she also spoke with the media about what she adds to the Dream. Here is what she said.
Yeah, definitely. I just try to pride myself on versatility. So whatever coach needs me to do to go in and be able to defend, whatever, rebound, get out there and run. So just being able to, and also like you said, that playoff experience I have in the previous years, I think that'll be important going down the stretch. But it goes back to, just getting 1% better each day. Like I said, it's a lot of new faces. So, each team is different.
Yeah, the Dream opened up preseason action on May 1st against Minnesota. We'll have coverage of that. So make sure you visit the site and be able and check us out and follow us. And we'll have some commentary on their first preseason game, as I said, on May 1st. Let's wrap up the show with our interview spotlight. This one is on Georgia State men's golf player Josh Edgar. We were able to speak with the Australian resident who was born in New Zealand on April 22nd before the Sunbelt men's golf tournament began. We were able to speak with him about the Panthers winning the Wofford Invitational on April 13th, working through the pandemic and a challenging regular season. He moved to the United States to play collegiate golf and choosing to attend Georgia State. He's a fifth-year senior, so he returned to the program when he could have moved on and gone another direction. So we were able to speak with him about that. He ran cross country and played rugby in high school, and we went over the correlation or connections that those may have had with his golf career and everything else in between. So here is men's golf player for Georgia State, Josh Edgar, in our interview spotlight. All right, good, everybody. This is Emar Selpachuk, the Sports Inquirer, and we are joined by Josh Edgar, a men's golf player for Georgia State. The team's preparing for the conference tournament in a few days. Before we get to that, Josh, the team was able to win its last time out at the Wofford Invitational. What was that like, earning a team win for the program for the first time in 4 years?
It was great. We had a lot of fun that week. We feel like we haven't performed to our best this semester, but we've been trending in the right direction. we've had a lot of good scores back at home, and it just hasn't been relating into tournament play. But so it was no surprise for us. We knew we were good enough to take that out, and the guys showed it on the last day. We had one of the best rounds and best team rounds of the day while we had the lead going into that final round as well. So it was a great performance from the team.
Yeah, I spoke with Coach Wilson, Coach Chad Wilson, the head coach of Georgia State men's golf earlier, and you were saying the challenges of this season have been very strong for the squad, from the traveling with mask on to just a unique type of schedule. What's it been like for the players just trying to work through this season through a pandemic?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Obviously, things we're not used to. We basically travel to the tournament with masks on, play the tournament, and we spend the whole night in the hotel room. Whereas in the past, we would go out for dinner, be around the team a lot more. Whereas now it's a lot more just one-on-one with the guy that you're rooming with, and there's not as much of that team interaction around dinner that we used to have.
How do you get your time in as far as practicing? Coach said that sometimes you'll, in the middle of the drive, go to a range or try to get some holes in. How do you train to prepare for tournaments and matches? Do you find yourself maybe more on your own, having to get your routine in?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with classes being online, everyone's got a bit of a mixed schedule right now. So definitely we've got our facility at Bobby Jones, and you find quite often can be out there by yourself, staggered throughout the day, or you just see one other guy, depending on how the schedule's going. And so the great thing is quite a few of the events we've played those courses before, so you can prepare for those courses and you know what to expect from previous years. But for the likes of, we've got 2 freshmen who travel with us a lot, and they haven't seen many of these courses before. So for them, it's very different preparation. They go off what we tell them and what they need to practice for, and that's about all they can do before they see the course.
Yeah, I think the whole team is in the same situation now, heading into the conference tournament in Arkansas. I don't think any of you have played this course before. I know the women's tournament for the Sun Belt Conference tournament was there, but none of you have played there. How do you prepare for a course that you've never seen before?
Yeah, it's tough. So our assistant coach, he has put together like a map on a Word document, and it shows where we can aim to hit our drives based on statistics and that sort of thing. So we've got that to prepare for now. But mainly it's, just information that we've heard from other people. So we know it's a long course, which means hitting a lot more longer irons into green. So that's more of the preparation. It's going to rely a lot on short game too. So it'll be a lot of chipping and putting. But a lot of that is just preparation until we see the course. And, that what we practice here may not translate for there. We might have to change the strategy a little bit. But that's all you can do, and prepare for the best you can with the information you've been given.
Do you at least get a practice round there when you get down to the tournament? Will you be able to at least get a few holes in, or will you be heading straight to the course for the event?
No, so we fly in Friday, and we'll get to go to the course and just practice.
Okay.
Like use the facilities, but then Saturday we'll play practice rounds. So that'll be the first time we see the course, and we'll play 18 and get a good idea of how the course is playing for the week then.
Okay, so you get some time. Let's go to you individually. You're a 5th-year senior. You obviously could have moved on from Georgia State after last year's shortened season. What led to you coming back for another campaign with the Panthers?
I think there was just some unfinished business. Having that cut short, I don't know, I felt like I wasn't ready to move on. I still want to keep playing golf and be competitive. My freshman year, I was at the conference tournament, but I didn't play. I was just watching and supporting the guys. And I watched them win the Sun Belt Championship and take home the ring, and it was an awesome experience to be part of. And it's something I want to be in the team playing and winning that this year. So not having the chance last April motivated me, and yeah, we want to take out this conference title. That's why I came back.
Yeah, and what was this offseason like for you? You're from Australia, and so obviously you're far away from your home. Did you go back to Australia in this past year? Have you stayed in the United States? How did you just handle this whole situation this past year?
Yeah, so I've actually stayed in America the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been home yet. It's once everything started locking down, it became pretty clear that it was going to cost a lot of money to go home. And I also, so then looking at Christmas time too, specifically, it was going to be quite a few thousand to stay in a hotel room and quarantine for 2 weeks to only get to be in the country for 2 weeks before coming back with the short break over Christmas. So family and I made a decision that I'd stay over here, and yeah, I haven't been home yet. So it's been tough, but no, I think it's been the best option right now.
Yeah. Now, I was doing my research, and I see you're from the Gold Coast, Australia, but you're born in New Zealand. And I see that you also are a rugby player. So my question is, do you support the Wallabies or the All Blacks when it comes to the rugby competitions?
Yeah, there's no debating that. I'm All Blacks for life for sure.
Really? Okay. So when did you move to Australia from New Zealand?
I was 8 years old, so I played rugby for about 3 years in New Zealand. So,
okay, so you're still loyal to the All Blacks.
Oh yeah, I could never go to the Wallabies.
but you were spent a lot of time in Australia. But why did you stop playing rugby? And I saw you were a cross country athlete as well. What led to the decision, I guess, to focus on golf?
I've always I played rugby and golf all through high school. I like the challenge of golf for some reason, just the individual battle that you have. I played rugby up until my senior year, and I loved it. And I kind of knew I wasn't going to head in that direction after high school. And golf was always my passion at the end of the day. And yeah, I mean, I love to watch rugby though. I'll watch rugby over golf any day. But playing, I'll play golf.
There's such opposite sports. Golf is very much about the individual, and rugby is counter to that. It's all about the team and working together as a unit. Do you see any similarities with it? Maybe do you take some of your rugby experience into golf, or are they just completely different entities for you?
I think they are very different. If you're playing like an event during the summer here in America, it's all by yourself. But for example, being on the college team, it's very much one of the few chances you get to be in that team environment. So I definitely have taken some stuff from rugby and from that team environment that's helped in college golf, because it's weird. You're competing against the own guys on your team to win an individual title, but you're also working together to win the team title. So it's a unique experience. It's one of the only sports you can really do that. But yeah, I've definitely pulled stuff from rugby.
Yeah, and how did you end up at Georgia State? I mean, you're halfway around the world, literally, from Australia or New Zealand, even just from Asia or Australia, the continent, all the way to the United States and North America. What was that process like for you, and why did you choose Georgia State?
So there was actually an Australian on the team before me, and he helped get me in touch with the coach. And from there, I got talking, and I actually came over and played an event, had a visit and played in the event. He watched me play, and kind of after that, he offered me a position. So, and that was just how it happened, and very grateful for the opportunity because it's been an awesome experience.
Yeah, what has it been like being in? And you're fortunate because Atlanta is a metropolis city, at least in the United States. You could have ended up a lot of other places. But what has your experience at Atlanta been like? You're in the center of one of the big areas of golf in the world, obviously the Masters and Tour Championship and all that stuff. But what's it been like for you here in Georgia?
It's been incredible. Coming from the Gold Coast, it's golf is quite popular, but it wouldn't say by any means the most popular sport or anything. You know, we've got the beach right there. Surfing's very popular. Whereas coming to Atlanta, the quality of golf courses, I'd say, is one of the main things that has been incredible. The size and everything, we just don't have that where I'm from. And then, like you're saying, the tournaments, you know, I've got to go to the Masters. I've got to go to the Tour Championship. I, you know, get to run up the 18th hole. I didn't do it when Tiger was there, but when Rory won, you know, everyone's running up the year after Tiger won. I was part of that. You know, it's just right there watching. You know, you got access to some of the best guys in the world and some of the best courses in the world. It's been awesome, and something I couldn't have gotten staying on the Gold Coast.
Well, good. I'm glad you've enjoyed your experiences in Georgia. Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for your time, Josh, and good luck in this conference tournament for the Sun Belt.
Thank you very much.
And we thank Josh for joining us. And before the Sun Belt tournament, which the team is currently playing, and once that tournament wraps up, we'll probably catch up with some of the coaches and players about everything that's been going on with the team. And thanks for listening to today's broadcast. As always, head to the mothership, to sportsinquirer.net, for all the news and notes in the world of sports you'll ever need. Head to our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook social media platforms under Sports Inquirer. Subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, or wherever you get your audio and video content under the Sports Inquirer. And until next time, good fight, good night, be safe.